Good morning, good evening, hello and welcome everyone. Nice to see you all back. Thanks guys. Hello Paul. And who else do we have here? Oh, it just looks like you today, but hopefully there's more people joining. I can see 5 people joining. Don't forget to like, it will help the algorithm and it'll push the video out more. Yeah, sorry for the short notice. I have to do these video short notice because I just don't know when I'll be free. Extremely busy at the moment, so gonna have to do what I can. But yeah, let's start with what's happening in Gaza, and as usual, let's go through Twitter, and we'll see all of the latest news that's happening around Twitter, and let's go over them, shall we? So as you can see from this picture, Gaza is absolutely destroyed, and I mean, look at it. Houses, buildings, absolutely destroyed. There is no military facility here whatsoever. These are all civilian buildings, shops. It's absolutely barbaric. I mean, the people who died of this bombing obviously have lost their lives, but there's also people still buried under the rubble. There's a lot of people missing, and there's also many people injured as well. So I think the official numbers came today around 7,000 people who have been dead, and half of them have been children. It's very sad to see, guys, absolutely sad to see. Let's move on to the next story. Oh, this is something which is not related to Gaza, but I thought I'd share it with you guys. I mean, this is Megan Fox with her 3 sons. I'm not joking. These are her 3 sons. And she obviously dresses them like girls. They look like girls, but they are boys, trust me. And I just think this is like, I think this is child abuse. Like somebody said, this is child abuse. I think it is, because these kids are innocent. And you're just messing about with their minds, and they don't know who they're going to be when they grow up. They're going to probably turn out to be trans or something. And these kids are going to be really messed up mentally. And look, guys, I don't care how hot Megan Fox is, but this woman's a psycho. Seriously, big time psycho. Put her in the category of Amber Heard. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with these Hollywood women. They're all bloody psychos. It's definitely not worth marriage material, trust me. I don't care how hot she looks. Yeah, if my wife decides to dress my son, I don't have a son by the way, but if she did decide to dress my son as a girl, I would tell her to leave. I would like, get out. Don't want your kind here. So yeah, I don't know what's wrong with Megan here. Look, she's got a big smile on her face. Obviously, she's happy. Oh my God, her boys don't look very happy. I mean, look at them; they all look miserable. They got black lipstick on as well. Bloody hell! What the hell is going on? Definitely child abuse. Anyway, let's move on. So this picture is in Turkey, so you can see it's quite funny. Jews not allowed in a big bookstore. So I thought that was quite funny. So this is Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley has been very vocal as of late. She's been she's coming on Twitter and she said, "Finish them," to Israel. Like she means like she told Israel to basically finish off all the Palestinians. That's what she meant, because it was one of her tweets. She said, "Finish them." And this woman is an absolute warmonger. Absolute warmonger. First, she wanted to have a war with China. I don't know if you remember her rhetoric that she wanted to have a war with China. Then she wanted to have a direct war with Russia. And now she wants a direct war with the rest of the Muslim world, basically. And she's basically asking for genocide in Palestine. She asked Israel to basically finish off all the Palestinians. That's what she said. She said, finish them. And she's not shy of it either. So those of you who don't know Nikki Haley, she is half Indian descent. So obviously, she is rising the Indian flag and making them proud, I guess. And no wonder all the Indians are standing with Israel. Seriously, I don't know, really don't know what's going on here. So these are Palestinians in the West Bank in like cages, and this is what apartheid is, and this is how Palestinians are being kept, and this has been going on for years. I mean, because there's been peace, there's not been fighting going on between the two countries. There was a couple of bombings that Israel did, but generally this is what Israel do to the Palestinians. And the West likes to kind of say that this is what's happening to the Uyghur Muslims, this is what China is doing to the Uyghur Muslims, while the reality is this is what the Israelis have been doing to the Palestinians. And them blaming China is like a smokescreen. And this is what they do. You know, United States are very good at that. They do something themselves, or their proxies do something themselves, and they blame it on others. And they've been doing that for years. They've been getting away with that for years. And some something needs to somebody needs to stop all this. Seriously, it's gone beyond the joke now. So there's our Claire Daly. She's still standing up and fighting for justice and truth. I really support her. This is quite funny. This is quite. Oh my God! So you have an Indian here who's who's licking the boot of an Israeli. Oh, I thought that was so funny. But yeah, I mean, I just don't understand why there's so many Indians. I mean, I'm still waiting for an Indian to get hold of me and just talk to me and just come on maybe this chat and have a chat with me and just explain why you guys are absolutely bootlicking the Israelis. Why? What is the point? Seriously, what is the point? I'm going to come back to India shortly after Israel. I want to do a section on them later on. So I'm going to come back to India. So let's move on. So these are US troops landing in Israel. They look like special forces. Also, French special forces have landed, British special forces have landed, German special forces have landed. So basically, the white group are here. The white people are here to liberate Israel the from Hamas, from those slipper-wearing AK-47 and the stone-throwing rascals. Because that's what they do. They throw stones, right? I don't even know if they got AK-47s. They might do now, but you know, you have all of these strong super countries. You have superpower United States. You have all of the rest of the West going in with Israel just to fight a few hundred Hamas members, or maybe 1,000 or two. I don't know. There can't be that many, and they just don't have any sophisticated weapons. So it doesn't sound like a like for like, battle here. It's I bet these U.S. soldiers are pretty looking forward to fighting these Muslims with slippers, because fighting Russia or China would be a very difficult proposition with missiles falling on your heads, right? So it's much easier to fight these Muslims with slippers. That's what they did in Iraq for 20 years and Afghanistan for 20 years. They had it easy. These guys had it easy, and now they've landed and with big smiles on their face. I bet they can't wait, right? I bet they can't wait. Okay, so yeah, this is like more special forces going to the front line. So it could happen any day now. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the weekend, they might start a ground offensive. We'll see. So the Palestinian UN ambassador got a standing ovation when he made his speech. The Israeli ambassador got zero ovations. So that shows where the global countries and which country is the global south, and especially the world, is supporting here. And I think Israel tried to do a UN resolution to go into Gaza this weekend. They tried to put in something to say we are doing a ground offensive in Gaza. Obviously, Israel's friends said yes, like US and Britain and all the white countries and proxies like Japan, South Korea, and stuff like that. And Russia and China vetoed it, which was the correct thing to do. So Rania Khalek, I don't know if you know Rania Khalek from Breakthrough News. Israel appears to be intentionally targeting the families of medical and media professionals in Gaza. It can't be a coincidence. This looks like retribution against those providing life-saving care and those showing the world Israel's crimes. How can anyone defend this thuggery? Which is true. I mean, Israel has blocked all internet access, which means ordinary Israelis cannot um, ordinary Israelis cannot basically have any internet to upload any pictures or videos to the internet. And also they've cut off the electricity. So a lot of people, their phones are probably switched off. They've got no power. And the only people that have a bit of power is medical staff and also the journalists. So these people can still send images out and videos out. And this is why Israel is targeting them, because Israel knows they've lost the propaganda war. I mean, these images are being sent all over the world. People are seeing it. There's protests happening all over the world. And obviously, this is why Israel is targeting the journalists and the medical staff. So this one I thought was quite good. Celtic Football Club released a statement yesterday saying nobody can bring in Palestinian flags. Where basically they said, they're going to ban anyone bringing in Palestinian flags. But guess what? Look at these pictures. People still bought in Palestinian flags. And Celtic is a Scottish club. And like I said to you yesterday, Scotland and Ireland are very pro-Palestinians because they know what it's like to be oppressed by the English. English have been oppressing Scottish and Irish for hundreds of years, and brutally as well, very brutally. I don't know if you've seen the film Braveheart. So if you get to see Braveheart, you will see how brutal the English were to the Scottish and also the Irish as well. And yeah, so you have all the Scottish people chanting from the river to the sea, holding up Palestinian flags, despite the club saying the flag was banned. So this is really, really great thing to see coming out of Scotland and the Scottish people. So this is quite funny, guys. The Uyghur Muslims have supported Israel, and this shows which side these Uyghur Muslims are. And it shows that these guys are not real Muslims. Because if you're a real Muslim, you would support Palestine because your brothers and sisters are being killed, right? So Uyghurs, you can see I said Uyghurs are not real Muslims if they support Israel. And so all of these Uyghur independents, East Turkestan leaders, and people that attend marches and things like that. These guys are all kind of putting up posts that they support Israel, and it's kind of sick. But they also showed themselves as well. They also showed themselves who they really are, because the Muslim countries are going to look at this and think, you know what, screw you guys, because we supported you, but you showed your true faces in times like this. So yeah, well, we don't care about you guys anymore. So I think these guys have shown who they really are, and I think these Uyghur supports are not going to get much support anymore from the Muslim world. They didn't get any support anyway, because all the resolutions they tried to pass about Uyghur genocide on the UN, they all failed, because only countries that voted for it was the Western countries, around 51 countries, the Western countries on their puppets. But the majority of the world, 150 countries, said no, and majority of those countries were Muslim countries. Well, actually, all of those countries were Muslim countries. So they know the truth. They know what's going on. You can't pull the wool over their eyes. When a real genocide is going on in Palestine, you can't suddenly make up a fake one and start blaming China for it. Just going through some stories. So the King of Jordan, he seems to be a puppet as well of the United States, and he's been letting in weapons and he's been letting in Israel and the US use Jordan's airspace and air bases and military bases as well. And people are calling him a traitor in the Muslim world because this guy is basically helping Israel, even though he's saying in front of the television he supports Palestine, but behind the scenes he's doing everything he can to help Israel. So Iran's foreign minister basically came out and said a few things. He said the genocide, if the genocide in Gaza continues, the US will not be spared from this fire. And also he mentioned that if the US decides to bomb Iranian infrastructure, Iran will take serious actions and take revenge. And he didn't specify how he's going to take revenge, but yeah, I think if the US or Israel decide to attack Iran, I think first thing Iran is going to do is they're going to activate their nuclear weapon um, or nuclear bomb program, and it's pretty much ready to go at the moment. You know, they've got the uranium, they've got the plutonium, which is um, refined at a very high level, and it's refined at a level where you can make nuclear bombs with it. And they have the delivery as well. They've already got the missiles that can take delivery with these uranium bombs. So they're pretty much ready to go, and they've got all of these nuclear facilities hidden underneath mountains as well, secret ones. So as soon as they start attacking Iran, Iran will say, well, we're activating our nuclear weapons for self-defense. And nobody can blame them for that, because if you are a country and suddenly you are attacked, you will do whatever you can to protect your country, in the name of defense. Anyone would do that. Same way Russia will fire nukes if NATO decided to attack Russia, and if NATO decided to attack Moscow, for example, Russia would do that. So any country, with that nuke technology has the right to use them, and I think that's the first thing Iran's going to do, and it's going to be a major escalation, because all the military bases around the Middle East will start getting attacked, because Iran has got many proxy fighters around the Middle East, and they will make things very difficult for US as well as other countries, Western countries as well. So it's a really bad news if they decide to start attacking Iran. So this is a sad video of this Palestinian man. He found out that his boy or his grandson had died, and at the end of the video, oh, sorry about that. At the end of the video, he collapses. He faints and collapses, and they're just taking him away because obviously his heart can't take this kind of pain. So I thought that was a very sad video. Hamas has said that 50 people who were being held hostage in Gaza have been killed by Israeli airstrikes. And which is right, guys. I mean, before you start doing airstrikes, shouldn't you start, negotiate with Hamas, get the hostages released, or even send special ops into Gaza to try and rescue them? Because end of the day, it's Gaza here. We're not talking about China or Russia. This is like Gaza, which is a very small. It's like the size of Central Park. Yeah, we're not talking about a huge amount of space here, and not huge. And the population is around 2 million. Obviously, it's gone down, and most of the population are basically kids and women. There's not many young men in fighting age, and Hamas has probably got a few thousand members, maybe more. I don't know, but you know, What is the point of dropping bombs and killing hostages? It just doesn't make any sense. It just shows what Israel is like. They just don't care who they kill, whether it's civilians, whether it's kids, whether it's their own. They don't care. They'll just keep bombing. It really is a coward's way out, really, seriously. So this is a picture of Gaza before and after. You can see it's been completely leveled, absolutely destroyed, and it's getting worse. Oh, there's a story here that Mrs. Maxwell, or ex-Mrs. Maxwell, she plans to release the names of 8 highly classified individuals who slept with girls, basically. I can't say the word in case I get demonetized. But yeah, I think somebody needs to look after her because there might be people coming to, kill her like they did to the other half of hers. So I think she needs to be very careful. But it'd be quite interesting to see who these 8 names are. And I wonder if one of the names is Prince Andrew, but I'm not sure. But who knows? But I'm sure there'll be quite high figures. So yeah, I just want to end with this. Basically, Biden has made a speech yesterday, and Biden was threatening China. Apparently, he was saying, if China doesn't stop, you know, bullying Philippines, then he's going to enable the defense treaty with Philippines and start a war with China. That's exactly what he said. And I don't know if he was on drugs at the time or he didn't take his drugs, maybe. But yeah, he really wants to start another war with China on another front while everything in the Middle East is going on and everything in Ukraine is going on. And he wants to basically start a fight with China as well. And that's it, guys. I'll give you more of the latest tomorrow. So let's see how everyone's doing. Don't forget to like, and share. How's everyone doing? Does everyone have any questions for me? And I'll be happy to answer them. Just remember, just put Q in front of your question. If you don't, then I'll just move on with the show, and I can start talking about um, other things. I'll talk about Philippines, and I'll talk about India as well. That's a good one. Mr. Pork Bacon from It for Everyone. Biden's always demented, with or without drugs. Good morning, CA. Good morning, Morpheus. Good morning, Rolf. Good morning, Cam. Good morning, Dav. Good morning, Frankie. And who else? Who else have I missed? Good morning, Dark Cloud. David. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Okay, so let's move on with the next stuff. Okay, I'm going to talk about Philippines now. So you can see my screen. The next Ukraine. Philippines wants to be the next Ukraine, basically. So let me tell you the story of the Philippines, and a lot of you who may not know. China used to control most of the islands in the South China Sea, and they had huge controls over it. And during the Civil War, when China was very weak, and then they obviously fought in the Korean War and also in the Vietnam War. And China was very weak at the time, and then they didn't really have a naval. They didn't have a naval kind of a naval force, because most of it was destroyed during the Civil War, and Chiang Kai-shek and destroyed a lot of the um, the the Chinese naval ships, and this is why they escaped to Taiwan, and they couldn't go after them because a lot of the naval ships were destroyed, and also, China was very weak at the time, and Vietnam and Philippines decided to take advantage, and they kind of grabbed a lot of these islands for themselves. And over the years, China started to obviously building up strength, building up their naval forces, and they started claiming back other islands one by one. And but however, Philippines and Vietnam started militarizing some of these islands. So China did the same. They started doing some land reclamations and started militarizing some islands for themselves. And then we came to the war in Yugoslavia. And do you remember the time when Yugoslavia, where the Chinese embassy got bombed by NATO? And obviously, a massive international, you know, crisis happened because, China was not very happy at the fact that NATO decided to bomb the embassy. And what did the Philippines do while China was mourning this really sad event? Philippines decided to land a ship into the Thomas II Shoal, and that's the broken ship that you see on the pictures um, where there's a huge dispute happening. So they've landed that ship, and ever since then they've kept that ship. And this is where most of the issues have been happening, because what Philippines have been doing, they've been sending supplies to that ship. There's a little force staying in that ship for long term. These guys are recycled every few years, and they've obviously got weapons and guns and stuff like that. So they're part of they're part of the armed force, even though they don't have like a military. Because if they had a military on, then that would make it an even bigger escalation. But these guys are obviously military, wearing ordinary uniforms. So China basically asked them to move that ship since the 1980s, and Filipinos said at the time, "Yeah, yeah, we will do it." And I've seen some quotes from the ex-Filipino prime minister way back when the ship caused an international outrage by the Chinese, and he said we will move it as soon as we can, and stuff like that. So he wasn't. So he didn't do it, and he changed prime ministers changed, and they've forgotten about it, and now you have the latest guy, which is Marcos Jr., and he's escalating even more. He's denying that Philippines ever said that this ship, they're going to move that ship. He's completely denied it, even though it's on official records. And he keeps basically using the Thomas II Shoal as a way to kind of escalate things with China. So obviously, the history is when he came into power. Before him, he was President Duarte, and he was quite friendly to China, and he wouldn't escalate anything to this level with China. There was a lot of friendly communication between the two. But Marcos Jr. is the son of a previous prime minister of Philippines, or president of Philippines, and if I can remember, I think his father was very corrupt, and Marcus Jr. grew up in one of the American air bases abroad somewhere, and now he's back, and now he's doing his father's job, absolutely corrupt and doing the United States bidding. Give me a second, guys. I'm just gonna. So yeah, so since he came into power, he went. The first thing he did, he went to China for a meeting, and the Chinese were very happy because they thought, this guy is coming to China and he's going to mend relations and take the relations to the next stage, and things are going to be very good between China and Philippines. And they gave Chinese gave him a grand welcoming. They gave him a red carpet and everything. And then he asked for 5.5 billion for infrastructure and to help with a lot of stuff in Philippines. And China agreed at the time, and they said, yeah, no problem, that's fine. So he asked for 5.5 billion, and China agreed. And then he went to United States to meet Biden, and that's when things completely changed. He came back with a completely different mind, and he started escalating things with China. And he agreed to add four new bases. Four new bases he decided to add. I'm just going to show you which bases he added. So let me show you. Yeah, so it's actually five bases. These are the bases. So you have two bases at the north of Philippines, and these bases are directly near Taiwan. And you have this base here, you can see right on the west of Philippines. And this base is right, facing the South China Sea and all of the South China Sea islands. And so these are the main bases China is really worried about, really. And so this guy basically agreed all these military bases with the United States. And since then, he's been escalating things with China. Fishing boats have been constantly going in and out of the Second Thomas Shoal. And there was one incident where the Chinese Coast Guard tried to shoo them away with a water cannon, which I thought was quite funny. And and these Filipinos, they basically take journalists inside their boats, and they basically film it and they post it all over the internet, and they make it into a massive international event. And what people don't understand is these islands are disputed between not just China and Philippines, but they're also disputed between Vietnam, Malaysia, and so there's other countries who have disputes with these islands. So, but the Filipinos are making it clear that the only dispute they have is with China. And so it's been escalating and escalating, and the Filipinos have been trying to send supplies through that massive broken ship, and they've not been successful because every time they try and do it, the Chinese basically block them. And there's a few times they managed to get there using airdrops, and and yeah, so they do eventually. I mean, that ship is absolutely breaking apart now. I mean, it's completely rusted, and it looks like it's about to fall apart. I think if another hurricane comes along or another tornado comes along, I think that ship is toast because it could absolutely break apart. So so China has been absolutely very, very. They've been very kind of lenient towards Philippines, mainly because Philippines is an ASEAN member, and China does not want to start a fight with another ASEAN member because the other ASEAN members are not going to like it. They're going to think that China's the aggressor and stuff like that. So China does not want to start a fight with the Philippines. And China's kind of stuck at the moment because China's, they don't want to, yeah, they don't want to seem too like threatening or too strong against Philippines because again, all the other ASEAN countries are not going to like it. They're going to think that China's a threat, and China's navy enlargement is a threat, and all the other countries are going to be start pushing away or be afraid of China. So that's what China doesn't want. Philippines is very lucky because If they were doing this to the United States, or if they were doing this to Israel, they would start bombing civilian houses like they're doing to Palestine. Do you really think United States or Israel care about Filipinos? Seriously, and these Filipinos are so stupid. Do they not see what's happening in Ukraine? I mean, these things are escalating, but there's going to come a time when, if things escalate to a certain level and shots are fired and people die, then things could escalate even more. And obviously, Philippines is doing this because US wants them to, because it just makes sense. Because they're adding all of these military bases. You can see all of these US influence in Philippines, and Philippines was occupied by the US not long ago, and they were occupied for quite a long time. So you would think that Philippines, the fact that they're an occupied country, they would try and stay away from the US, right? But no, and many Filipinos died during the Vietnam War, Korean War, and they were put in the front line. And instead of the American soldiers being killed, mainly Filipinos were being killed, and they have just been used as cannon fodder. And again, they want to be used as cannon fodder again. It's almost like, who wants to be the next Ukraine? And the Filipinos are like raising their hands and go, me, we want to be the next Ukraine. Me, pick me, pick me. And that's what it sounds like. These Filipinos not have a brain. I mean, there's actual videos out in CNN, basically having war games with China. And one of these videos was basically using Philippines as a base to attack China. Do they not see what the United States think of them, or they're just going to use them as cannon fodder? And Philippines doesn't have a strong army like China. I mean, they are not going to last. How long are they going to actually take? And if you ask me, Filipinos do start a fight with China. Personally, I know that China will win, but as part of the surrender, I think they should give up on this island here on the west. Can you see this island on the west? I think personally, if they do get involved in any war with China, and they will lose, and America will pretty much leave them to it, because America's not going to come to their rescue. America's got problems of its own fighting Russia, Middle East. They are not going to want to fight and start another war, another front with China. Impossible. There is no way in hell. They can't fight Russia, China, and the Middle East at the same time. And but if they use the Filipinos to basically start fighting with China, the war is not going to last very long. It's probably going to take a few days. China will literally destroy all military bases in and around Philippines. And one of the one of the things that China could ask as part of a surrender treaty, they could ask for this island here. Can you see this island on the west? This island faces the South China Sea and all of the islands in the middle as well. And it would have offered protection to China and the South China Sea and all the surrounding islands. And they will also have to give up their rights to all of the South China Sea islands as well. So Philippines is playing a really dangerous game here, being a target or being used as cannon fodder to attack the Chinese. And it's just not going to end well. Seriously, it's just not going to end well. And I know there are some clever Filipinos out there who can see what's really happening, but a lot of them don't, unfortunately. A lot of them are really brainwashed. And you can understand why they're brainwashed, because they've been colonized by the US for so long. They are still a US colony. I mean, you just have to go to Philippines. You see lots of army guys, basically, and lots of Filipino prostitutes and sleeping around and stuff. And yeah, it's still a colony of the United States, and the United States is just draining Philippines of its natural resources and money. This is why Philippines is poor. It hasn't been able to develop because US has been using it to take all these resources, using its not letting it develop, and that's what US does. And yeah, it's a shame, really. It's a shame what Filipinos is doing. Okay, guys, let's come back to the main chat. If you've got any questions for me, how was that little story about the Philippines? I bet nobody else will give you as much details as I do. So hopefully that was entertaining. So so-called pro-China keep killed by the USA. Yeah, exactly. 100% Morpheus. Let me know if you have any questions. If not, I'll move on to the next topic. And Steve says Philippines' biggest trading partner is China. Correct, correct. And David says, yep, sex tourists. Yeah, there's a massive sex tourism industry in Philippines. And yeah, so my friend always says, never trust a Filipino girl, never trust a Thai girl, because they're, yeah, they're basically, yeah, sorry to say, guys, but they are basically hoes. You can't trust them. Estimated vast majority of Filipino wanted to migrate to the USA. Yes, correct. But one thing about Philippines, the population is very high. I think it's around 200 million. So the population is high. Unfortunately, most of the population is still poor. And as you can see, the islands are very separated. You know, they're not linked together. The only two massive parts of Philippines is the north and the south. But the main economy seems to be at the north, where Manila is. And but the rest of the island seems to be controlled by militia or other groups and stuff. I don't think the government controls the other islands. Correct, Steve. Yeah, if China stops trading with Philippines, the economy will sink. So it's just quite funny that fact that Philippines asking to borrow money from China, 5.5 billion, and they still escalate things like this for the United States. It's just yeah, it's just like a snake, right? It's worse than a snake. You know, one with one hand they ask for money, and with the other hand they try and stab you, basically. Oh, Rolf said populations of Philippines is 112.5 million in 2022. Okay, okay. I thought it was around 200, but you may be right. I'm just like guessing. Well, not guessing, but I thought I saw 200 somewhere. But maybe you're right. Oh yeah, so that's confirmed by population is a little bigger than Vietnam, which is 110 million people. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, guys, and let's move on to the next subject. So the next subject is oh, this one. Let's just go to this one. You're gonna like this one, guys. So we're going to talk about India today. So India has been going around the world asking countries for oil and discounts. And latest is they've gone to Guyana not long ago, and they've been asking for discounts from Guyana. And this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, Russia has stopped supplying India with oil because India is refusing to buy oil in Chinese yuan. They want to carry on buying it in rupees. And the problem with buying rupees is Russia's got over billions and billions of dollars, or billions and billions of dollars worth of rupees, and these rupees can't be used anywhere else around the world, and they can't be used in China. They can't be used anywhere. So they're pretty much like paper money. And Russia's been basically selling oil to India for free, and And recently, what Russia's done is stopped all that. They decided to stop giving India oil using rupees, and reluctantly, India has been buying some oil with yuan, Chinese yuan, but not as much oil because obviously India doesn't have that much Chinese yuan because India is a country which is in a trade deficit with China. And if you're in a trade deficit, you don't really have much yuan to play with. So what they normally do, they convert other currencies into yuan and they give that to Russia. So India has been scrambling around the world. They've been going to Guyana, they've been going to African countries, they've been going to Middle Eastern countries, and Middle Eastern countries have been saying no to India. And India's kind of stuck at the moment because the oil prices are very high at the moment, and they have to buy these oil prices using dollars. And the Indian rupee has been going down. The dollar's been strengthening against the rupee, which means India pays more for oil using dollars, and that means they make less money, and the businesses make less money in India. So it's a huge problem in India at the moment, and people were saying last year that India is going to be the next superpower. Next superpower, India is going to be like um, overtaking China within the next 10 years. Well, good luck to that because first of all, in order to be a superpower, you need energy. And where are you going to get if nobody's giving you like cheap oil? How are you going to be a superpower? Because don't forget, when China was in the 1980s, when China was becoming a superpower, back then oil was very cheap. It was 20, $30 per barrel, even less even. And now it's gone up to 80, $90 a barrel, which means like it's much harder to be a superpower now than it was in the 1980s. Plus, China's got the infrastructure, the supply chains, access to raw materials. They own most of the mines in Africa. They got the Belt and Road. They've got the skilled labor. You got everything in place in China, but you don't have anything in place in India. They were talking about having some infrastructure projects going from India to Israel via Saudi Arabia, and United States was going to help, but that's been thrown out the window because of all the Middle Eastern crisis. So India is in a very sticky situation because it doesn't have the oil, and you can see India's trade deficit with China is growing larger by the year, and their trade deficit with other countries is going larger. For example, its neighboring like countries and the West even. So India is in a very sticky state. People say, "Oh, it's the next manufacturing and stuff." I don't think so because, yeah, Apple has gone to India, right? Apple has sent most of its factories over to India, but the Apple phones are very, very low quality, and even the Europeans are refusing to buy iPhones which are made in India. They are refusing to buy them. They said we will only accept iPhones that are made in China because these are so bad quality. And also, I don't know if you've seen the latest iPhone. These iPhones overheat very quickly. There's a major problem with these iPhones. They overheat, they bend, and there's other issues as well. And all because it's been made in India. Hang on a second, guys. I'm just going to unlock my laptop. It's frozen. Okay, that's better now. And that's the problem, really, guys. And I just don't think they're going to be a superpower very soon. If anyone wants to like have a discussion with me, saying, yeah, they are going to be the next superpower in the next 10 years, I'd love to hear your arguments why. And this brings me on to the next part of India. Let me just bring this. So now we're going to talk about the population. So you can see this article here. It was actually from India. India topping the population chart, dividend or disaster. So let me tell you something. When China's when China did this one China policy, it was China's population was uh, I can't remember the exact number, but it's very very low compared to what it is now. And India has no such policy, and the problem is, if India's population goes out of control, that means you have more mouths to feed, you have more people to feed, more natural resources that you need to feed them, to house them. And the problem is, right, population alone does not increase your GDP. And I'm sorry to say, a lot of Indian scholars and people that think they know it all about India think that having a large population means that they can have a really strong GDP growth. And they look at China and they see China's 1.4 billion people, and they think, oh, let's become 1.4 billion people just like China, and watch our population increase and watch our GDP increase. It doesn't work like that, guys. Because you just have to look at United States. United States has been the number one powerful empire for ages, and their population has not been 1.4 billion. Their population has been from going from like 100 to 200 to 300, which is now. So their population is a fifth of what China is and a fifth of what India is. Still, United States still is the highest in terms of GDP, and still, and they achieved that without a high population. Because what you need to increase your country's GDP, you need a very good workforce, but you also need to give them jobs, right? You need your manufacturing, you need your infrastructure, you need you need policies, and you need to sort out your taxes. There's so many things that India needs to become a high GDP earning country. But unfortunately, India doesn't have that. It doesn't have the basics. And this is why a lot of companies going into India, they eventually move out. And there's stories about a lot of Western companies going into India, and after like a year or two, they don't make any money and they just leave, because India doesn't treat foreign companies very well. They definitely don't treat Chinese companies very well, because Xiaomi and other Chinese companies get raided all the time. They get their money stolen. I think Xiaomi lost a year's worth of money. India just stole it. A year's worth of the money they made in India. India just decided to steal it. And obviously Xiaomi went to court, and India said, no, we're not going to give this money back. It's crazy. And yeah, you have like these iPhone suppliers who have gone to India, and they decided that they don't want to work in India, and Apple's kind of stuck as well, and they're trying to force Chinese suppliers to go into India as well, and they're saying no. So India's still got a lot of issues. They think they're going to be the next manufacturing hub, but it doesn't work like that. And when you have 1.4 billion people to feed, you know, you gotta, last few years, I mean, you just have to look at the stats. Last 2 or 3 years, India has stopped exporting grain. India has stopped exporting wheat, because they need that to feed their population. So what does that mean? That means they don't make any money anymore from agriculture. They can't sell it to the rest of the world. Now they have to feed their own population with it. And these people need houses, land. So India is also 1/3 of the size of China. So you have 1.4 billion people crammed in to a country that a third the size of China. And China's got huge amounts of land they can still use. And China can use huge amounts of land for renewables, for wind and solar and hydroelectric and things like that. But India can't, because you have 1.4 billion people crammed in. And obviously these people will need water, um, they'll need food, they'll need housing, um, and obviously you can't get all of them to work, because there's not going to be enough jobs for all of them. How is India going to provide 1.4 billion people with jobs? And nowadays, women want to work as well. It's not just men. So it's a huge issue for India. And yes, I just think it's more like a disaster. Hang on a second, guys. My laptop's frozen again. So I just think it's a huge disaster for India with all this population. And people in the West love to kind of make up stories saying, oh, India is going to overtake China. Look at the population, 1.4. They're going to overtake China very soon. I don't think so. I think it's more like a disaster, because having a population going out of control is not going to help your GDP growth or your industry or your country as a whole. I think if this population keeps growing, say in the next 10 years, India becomes a 2 billion population country, and they don't, and what they're going to do, how they're going to feed them, they're running out of water in the Ganges, right? And they'll need more energy for each of those people. So they have to import more energy, they have to import more oil. So it's going to cost India more in the long term to just to keep these people alive and feed them. And I think there's a massive disaster waiting to happen. The water in India is starting to go down because of overusing the water, like obviously the global warming and stuff, with the Ganges and many water sources, river sources, is starting to go down. But also villages, people are basically running out of groundwater, and these groundwater you need more and more of, and people are running out. And also, you know, once you get rid of your water, your land becomes like a desert. So overgrazing is a problem. So all of the agricultural stuff that India had, all this green land, is suddenly going to start turning into a desert, because you have too many people there are too many people who need to be fed, who need the water, who also need housing. So it's a huge problem if you don't have the infrastructure in place. I mean, China has been doing the north to south diversion, the water diversion thing, which is feeding up to like 700,000 people from south to north. And they're also planning on building the western side as well, and many other plans they have. But India has no such plans, unfortunately. So I just do not see how India can survive in 10 years with the global warming we're having now. Temperatures are going up. Water is becoming less and less scarce, and there's more and more people to feed in India. And as time goes on, I think agriculture is going to start going down and down, and they're going to have serious problem feeding their own people, let alone giving them jobs. And now they're struggling, going around every country begging for oil, begging for gas, because India is a country, they don't have natural resources. They don't have, they can't produce their own oil or gas. They do have small oil fields, but it's not enough, very, very small. And yeah, so they have to go around the world and beg for these countries. And the problem India has now is they've angered the Muslim world. They've shown themselves to be bootlickers of Israel, and the Muslim world will never ever trust them after this. And I mean, I know a lot of Muslim people in high places, and they have noticed India's stance in what's going on. And they said, you know what, the Muslim countries never forget. And the thing about Muslim countries is, they, it's a kind of thing where they look at, they hold white people in kind of regard, the Muslim countries, because they see white, the West basically, and the white countries like United States, Britain, the Five Eyes. They still hold them in high regard, because they are still pretty powerful. They got very good economies and stuff like that. But they look down on Indians, guys. All the Middle Eastern, they look down on Indians. They really see them as, you know, lowest of the low. And when India stands with Israel, India is going to be the first country that's going to take the Muslim anger, you know. And I feel sorry for India because they don't know what's coming, you know, and the Muslims will heavily take revenge on India first, rather than take any revenge against Western countries, like uh, doing any oil or gas embargoes. They're not going to do it against any Western countries, but they would rather do it against India just to teach them a lesson. And I think once all this conflicts and stuff dies down, you will see India really struggling to get oil and gas from the Middle East. I think they've pretty much angered the whole of Middle East. And Modi has not done very good with his diplomacy and his foreign policy. So, I mean, India was always a country, was always a neutral country. No matter what issue was happening around the world, they would always be neutral. But this is the first time they came out and said that they stand with Israel. And you see all the Indians in social media, on Twitter and Instagram, all these hundreds and hundreds of Indians just coming online and fighting for Israel, and you know, they are saying they all stand with Israel, and it's just very sad to see, guys. Very sad to see from a country who was colonized for 200 years by the British, and now they're supporting the colonizer. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I'm just gonna open my laptop again just to see if anyone's got questions. So anyone have any questions? Remember to put a question mark, or put a Q before you ask me any questions. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, that's the end of the show. But I'm happy to answer a few questions for you guys if you want me to. Thomas Lander says India is doing genocide in Kashmir. I think they want to do genocide in Kashmir. I think I was speaking to an Indian guy once, and he said one of the reasons they support Israel is because they want to do what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. They want to do what Israel is doing to the Kashmiris. So they are learning a lot of skills from Israel, you know, regarding how to treat Muslims and stuff. So apparently they are taking a lot of lessons from Israel, and Israel has been helping them, and this is why they support Israel apparently. But yeah. Somebody said, oh yeah, Rolf. Hey Rolf, how you doing? Rolf said Stockholm syndrome, 100% Stockholm syndrome. You know, when you're colonized for 200 years, you know, you become used to it. You miss that kind of lifestyle, right? It's like, you know, I don't want to make an analogy like this, but it's like when a guy treats his missus or girlfriend really bad, and he treats her so bad, she loses all of her self-respect, and she doesn't leave him. She comes back to him. She worships him, and it doesn't matter how bad he treats her. She keeps coming back for more punishment. And I think this is what Indians have become. They've been treated so badly over by the British. I think now they kind of miss being colonized, and they just kind of just admiring the colonizers again. I don't know. It's very embarrassing, to be honest. Very embarrassing to be an Indian at this moment. And any other questions, guys? I can't see any questions. Scythe277, I already answered this question yesterday on my live stream yesterday, and some of it today as well. So you can kind of go watch those, and that kind of gives my views on what's happening on the bigger picture. So you can, you're welcome to see those. Yeah, I can't repeat it again because I'm going to have to talk for another hour, which I don't have. And Mr. Ekwan said, how can India genocide Kashmiris? The rest of India's Muslims will cause a stir, and Pakistan and Turkey will shout from the rooftops. Well, from what I know, the Muslims in India are being completely oppressed. India has become a very much a nationalist Hindu country, and Modi's government has become very nationalistic. And Muslims in India do not have the same rights as Hindus, and that's a fact. And you can ask any Muslim living in India; they are being absolutely kind of dehumanized in certain areas as well. It is turning into a complete Hindu country, and this is why Modi wants to turn India's name into Bharat. They want to completely Hinduize the country, and yeah, I feel sorry for the Muslims in India, and this is why I think there are like people in, is it Manipur or something in the east of India fighting for independence, and Nagaland as well. And also the Sikhs want their own kingdom as well. The Sikhs wants Khalistan or something. So there are a lot of groups who are not Hindus who want their own land because they know they are absolutely persecuted in India, and they don't want to have anything to do with India. So the Sikhs want their own land. I think the Muslims in India want their own land as well. And yeah, Pakistan and Turkey can't really do anything at the moment because, as you know, India has nukes, and India is still a very strong military power. And I'm not sure if Pakistan can do anything because Pakistan is pretty weak compared to India, but they do have nuclear weapons. But India is still stronger in terms of conventional weapons. And yeah, I don't think Pakistan or Turkey will do anything about it because if you know Kashmir, you would know half of Kashmir is owned by Pakistan and half of Kashmir is owned by India, and the Indian-owned Kashmir is actually heavily militarized, and the people in that part of Kashmir again don't have much rights. They can't go to India, for example, or they can't leave to Pakistan, for example. They are pretty much their borders are locked. These people, similar to Palestinians, they don't have any jobs, and so yeah, it is kind of similar, but not in the same level as Palestine. Palestine is what you would call a concentration camp, and they are basically doing genocide in Palestine right now. So you can't really compare the two, but there are similarities. Any other questions, guys? One last question, and I'm gonna go. Any other questions? Oh, are there any opposition parties that want to reverse Modi's direction, apparently to the west? No, not really. I think, yeah, no, I think all the parties are pretty much anti-China, and when you are anti-China, you are pro-West, basically. So if you're anti-Chinese, you don't want to have anything to do with China, which means you have to go to the West. And most of the parties, unfortunately, in India are anti-Chinese, and yeah, they're all pro-West. And don't forget, like, India has always been pro-West because they all speak English. English is their second language, and they all kind of get taught English in schools. This is why you have call centers from Western countries, all based in India. And yeah, so India will always be going pro-West until there's peace between India and China. I don't think they'll ever go towards China. So that's it, guys. I think that's all the questions for today. Just checking if there's any more. JT says China sending warships to the Middle East. Russia says it will not allow an attack on Iran. If West decides to do it anyway, what do you think will happen? Again, I mentioned this on a special video yesterday. So check out my live stream yesterday, and I did a whole section on this. and I completely talk about this. So make sure you check it out for yesterday's live stream. That's got a whole section, or could be the day before. But yeah, check it out. All right, guys. Thanks for everything. Hopefully, I'll see you soon. Hopefully, over the next few days. And enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your evenings, and have a good one. Yeah, all right, and I'll see you soon. Take care.